Hello, True Health Seekers, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Learn True Health podcast. I have some very exciting news today for you, and also an incredible interview with an amazing doctor. Now, if you've been listening to the show for a while, you have heard me mention the Truth About Cancer documentary series. It really changed my life. It changed my friend's life who has now successfully beaten breast cancer. My mom died of cancer, and so I've taken it upon myself as a mission to spread this information that there is a way that we can prevent and we can successfully beat cancer naturally to support the body's ability to heal. When we look at the statistics, there is something flawed here, that 1 in 2 women in their lifetime will have cancer. That is the statistic right now. That is unspeakable. It is just so wrong on so many levels. And that's why one of my missions with the Learn True Health podcast not only is to uplift the naturopathic profession so more people can have access to holistic medicine, learn about holistic medicine through the Learn True Health podcast. Not only is my mission to help you in finding the answers that you've been seeking so you can have better health and longevity and joy in your life, and help your friends and family gain health in their life as well and be drug free. Can you imagine what your life would look like if you had more energy, more mental clarity, your hormones were balanced, you achieved a healthy weight, you felt young and vibrant, and you didn't need drugs? Just imagine what your life could be like. And so many people are achieving that with natural medicine. So this is my goal with the Learn True Health podcast, is to bring you this information that's going to help transform your life. One of the things that will help you is the documentary series, The Truth About Cancer. Now, you don't have to have cancer now to gain the benefits, because part of the documentary series will teach you how to achieve optimal health. And I'm so blown away by this documentary series that I've become a huge cheerleader for it. What I recommend you do is go to learntruehealth.com/cancer. A page will come up and there'll be a great little video and it'll ask you for your email. And what it'll do is it'll send you the documentary series for free. It's starting tomorrow. And so if you're listening to this and it's a few months after, don't worry, just go to learntruehealth.com/cancer, put in your email, and the next time that they release the whole series for free, once in a while they do that, which is so gracious of them, because they took the time and the money to fly around the world and find the doctors that are really making a difference, like my guest that the interview that is coming up. Like she does. She helps to reverse cancer naturally and help heal her patients in Australia. And there are doctors around the world that are doing this and helping people to gain healthy, vibrant lives. So if you want to achieve your health goals, definitely get this tool in your tool belt. learntruehealth.com/cancer. Check out the documentary series, The Truth About Cancer. Like I said, starting tomorrow, they're going to be releasing, they're going to give you access to all of the videos for free. And now what I recommend you do, though, is when they offer you, they do offer once in a while this really great discount. They're going to be doing that soon. They're going to send out an email to you soon. Take advantage of it and purchase the DVD set. And here's why. Because if any of your loved ones have a diagnosis of cancer and they call you up and they're crying on the phone and they're in shock and they don't know what to do, you go over to their house with the DVD set and you sit down and you watch it with them. It'll give them so much hope, so much clarity, and it'll ground them and allow them to make healthy decisions around their healthcare. Because when you're given a diagnosis of cancer, you are struck with so much fear that you just go with the first doctor and you go with the first round of treatments. And it's hard to be able to take the time to think slowly and make these decisions based on research. And this is what the documentary series allows you to do. That's why I recommend that you own the DVD set, so that you can help not only yourself and your family, but all your loved ones. Even you can get an extra copy and put it in your church library, or, lend it out to coworkers. Get this information out there. Not only does it teach you how to prevent cancer, teaches you how to navigate your cancer care so you can get a team of people to support you in your success. Get holistic doctors, get these different doctors from around the world supporting you in your success through this documentary series. You're going to love our guest today. She's a naturopathic physician who is absolutely amazing. And I am such a big fan of hers. And I was so surprised to find out that she's a fan of mine. So you're going to love today's show. You're going to learn so much. If you know anyone with cancer or anyone who has beat cancer, share this interview with them, because in the back of every cancer survivor's mind, in the back of their mind, there's this fear that it's going to come back. And we can help those who have survived cancer to reassure them and to give them the tools to support their body so that they can gain the most health possible and help to prevent it from coming back. That's a big weight off of someone's shoulders that you can provide for them by sharing this interview with them today, and also sharing the Truth About Cancer documentary series, which you can do by going to learntruehealth.com/cancer. Thank you so much for sharing the podcast and helping those you love. Let's get this information out there. You know, if we can just save one more mom, one more sister, one more aunt, one more cousin, one more best friend, if we can just save one more grandma, you know, one more daughter from dying of breast cancer, dying of cancer needlessly, let's save one more loved one, and then it'll have been worth it for me. You know, I can't go back in time and save my mom, but maybe I can save yours. Have a fantastic day and enjoy today's show. learntruehealth.com/cancer. Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 149. We have with us an amazing naturopathic physician. You've probably heard me talk about the Truth About Cancer documentary series. There are so many wonderful experts that were interviewed in that series, and we have another amazing expert with us today. Dr. Gosia Kuszewski is actually a fan of the show, I found out, which is like so cool. I feel so honored that naturopathic physicians want to listen to my show, because my goal with the show, one of my goals when I started it was to help uplift the naturopathic profession. I look around, my background's in marketing, and my husband and I run a digital marketing agency, and I look around and I go, man, we need to help naturopaths. Naturopathic profession needs as much help as it can get, because, you know, MDs kind of run the majority of the field, and then we have these naturopaths over here that do a way better job of helping people gain health back, and yet they're almost unheard of to the majority of the population. There's this answer to the people's prayers over here, and we need to have more people know that naturopathic medicine exists, that it is science-based, that it is absolutely more effective, and that gets better results than the cut, burn, and poison model. Now, I believe allopathic medicine, MD medicine, has its place, but that it should be a small piece of the pie compared to what it is right now. So, Gosia, it's wonderful to have you on the show. I'm so excited for you to come share and teach our listeners how they can have better health.
Thank you so much for having me, Ashley, and thank you for this wonderful introduction. I'm so excited to share my story and what I've learned over the years, helping people to improve their health and get them on the right track. And hopefully this conversation may inspire a few people. So I also want to say that I am a huge fan of your podcast. And I'm listening to it when I'm driving, when I'm cooking, when I'm exercising, when I even clean my house. It's such an easy way to learn, and I would encourage others to do the same. And your passion, Ashley, is so infectious. You radiate such a positive, awesome energy. And it looks like you are really having fun out there. And I've listened to many podcasts and must say that I've learned so much. So thank you from me and from the listeners.
Thank you. That was wonderful, especially coming from you. Now,
Absolutely.
now you and I, we definitely see eye to eye on many things. You help your patients to detox, to lose weight. You help them to help their body rid itself of cancer and prevent cancer. You help people deal with some serious issues and help them to achieve amazing health. And your website, which is cancerrecoveryplan.com, we're definitely going to talk about what you do later on in the show and what you can teach us to prevent cancer. And if we have cancer, what are the alternatives to chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery that are as effective or more effective. I hate to even, I cringe at saying as effective, knowing how ineffective some of the cancer treatments are, such as chemotherapy or radiation or surgery, in terms of long-term health, I should say. And so you have a very powerful system of holistic health, and you definitely help your patients. I definitely want to get into that, but first I want to talk about your story. So I happen to notice that you have a very unique accent. It's not just strictly Australian, is it?
No, not at all. No, not at all. Yes, my story. So I grew up in Poland. I'm Polish, and I lived there until I was 20 years old. And then I moved with my mom to Australia. So I've been here for 30 years. I'm nearly 50. I will be 50 in a few months.
You do not look 50. Oh
I
my
am 50.
gosh. You
I'm
do not.
definitely
I want to do whatever you're doing. You look like you're in your early 30s.
Oh, thank you.
No way you're in your 50s. This is
Yes,
this is
yes.
the funny thing about naturopathic medicine is pretty much all the naturopaths I've ever met look like 20 years younger than they actually are, right? Whereas MDs typically are the ones smoking outside the hospital, and they're the ones that usually look 60 when they're 40. So you definitely want to, when you pick a doctor, make sure that you pick a doctor that looks 20 years younger than they actually are, because they're probably following their own medicine.
Yes, I definitely walk my talk. I must say that whatever I teach, I apply in my own life, 100%.
Wow. So you came from Poland, and what was that like, when you were 20 years old, coming to Australia?
Yes. Well, I wanted to start with my upbringing because this is quite relevant to what I do today, because that's when my passion for plants and nature started when I was a young girl. And growing up in Poland, we didn't have much. It was time of communism and strict Catholic rules and, harsh weather, minus 20 and really harsh environment. We couldn't travel. There was no freedom. It was really pretty full on upbringing. But what we did have was contact with nature, and that was free and available to every one of us. And what I was doing was that I was basically half of my childhood hanging on a tree. And I felt free and unrestricted. And I was eating yummy fruit and watching nature and birds and not a worry on my mind. And I was totally immersed in nature. And that's when it all started, where I basically wanted to explore plants and explore healing nature of plants. And like Ashley, today in today's world, we are talking about importance of eating organic produce, and we go to organic shops. But back then, when I was growing up, this is all we had. There was no sprays, there was no chemicals, and our huge garden was producing fruit in such abundance that my father used to get upset with us that we didn't collect it because it was all wasted. Not all, but it was most of it was wasted. There was so much of it. And also, today we're talking a lot about grounding or earthing and buying special gadgets for like mats and different things. And when I was a young girl, I was running without my shoes and rolling on the ground. And I didn't realize, of course, how good it was for me. But all of that is for me right now just a reminder that the nature is just perfectly designed, And it's all there for us. We just need to be open to it and reach it and get it. And it's there. So, in a nutshell, this is where this beautiful connection with nature started for me. And I may also add that in Poland, we have a long tradition of fermenting foods and cooking soups and preparing meals from scratch and spending lots of time in the kitchen. So, all of this idea of fast foods or cutting corners is not necessarily familiar to me. Now it's maybe a little bit different because more people are buying fast foods. But when I was growing up, this was my life. This was just very close to nature and preparing foods in a kitchen. My mom was making butter, and we were getting milk from the neighbor, and that's all I knew. So basically, when I came to Australia, I was 20 years old, and I didn't know what I'm gonna do. But one thing I knew for sure was that I wanted to explore more about plants and the medicinal benefits. So I got interested in naturopathy because obviously there were subjects related to that interest of mine. And that was in Melbourne. I studied at the most prestigious and oldest school of natural therapies, which is called Southern School of Natural Therapies. And it took me 5 years to get my degree, which was a little bit hard because I didn't know English that well at that time. So my lecturers were saying that I was the hardest working student because I had to translate things, and it was a bit different to everybody else. But it took me 5 years and I got my degree. And then when I finished, I wasn't sure what area I'm going to focus on or what I'm going to do. I loved fitness and I loved nutrition and obviously the medicinal plants. And I started working at the little place, but I didn't really have a specific direction on what to do. And then what happened was that my mom got diagnosed with cancer. It was a lung cancer. And it was such a shocking news for all of us because my mom, as far as I knew, was healthy. She never smoked and she never drank alcohol. She was walking every day. She was cooking her Polish recipes at home. So we were all really, really puzzled. We didn't know why she would get cancer in the first place. And in my efforts trying to help my mom, I started looking for answers. I was educating myself about cancer and chemotherapy, radiation, obviously alternative treatments, healing plants specific for cancer and detoxification. But I must say that at that time, I felt really confused and scared, and I was frustrated, and I felt helpless. Um, Remember that this was 17 years ago, so the internet wasn't available to us, and it wasn't that easy to Google things as it is today. So, and also at our college, we didn't learn much about cancer. So it was all new to me. I didn't know what chemotherapy was. I didn't know that when you go to see an oncologist, that there are only three options, that there is only chemotherapy, radiation, or the surgery. I didn't realize that until I started that journey with my mom. And to make things a little bit more complicated, at the time of my mom's diagnosis, I just had my second daughter, Emma. So she was born and mom was diagnosed. And I also had a 3-year-old. So I have to say that if anyone lost a loved one to cancer knows what I'm talking about. It's such a scary and such a devastating news. It crushes you. And I think, Ashley, I've read your story, and I also know that you've experienced some of that. Is that right?
Right. Yes, I lost my mom in 2002 to liver cancer.
Mm-hmm.
and she was diagnosed at Easter time, which was that year, came late, and she died July 26th, 2002,
Mm-hmm.
and it was very quick. So it was
Very
like
quick.
the end of March, I think, is when she was diagnosed, and then by July she was gone.
Yeah.
And that was again right around when, even though the internet was around, it was still very much in its infancy. And when you shared your story just now, you described all the emotions we go through. That was
Yeah.
very spot on. It's confusion and frustration and anger and fear. I mean, intense, paralyzing fear when you find out a loved one has a diagnosis of cancer. My stomach just drops to the
Yeah.
floor, and I'm paralyzed. And I remember being paralyzed, and my mom too. And um, we did not expect her to pass away. Um, and it happened so fast. It was a blink of an eye, and we didn't expect it until it was already happening. And we were willing to fight, but we didn't have any tools to fight with. We felt so
Yeah.
helpless. And we knew things like, we knew juicing was good, but there was no like, well, what juices, what do you mean juicing's good?
Yes.
We
Yes.
knew all these things were good, but we didn't, there was no guidance. And I remember after we got her diagnosis, my dad and I went to the health food store and bought every book we could, and bought a juicer because we heard somewhere juicing was good. I mean,
Yeah.
that's it. We didn't there was
Yeah.
And we scanned through every anti-cancer book we could find, and we tried to, get her on a healthy diet. I mean, she was already, my mom was the epitome of health. She took supplements, she exercised often, she was very fit, and very, very healthy, saw a naturopath for years. But one thing she did, actually, which we figured out was probably the cause of her cancer, was that she'd gone to an MD, because all her girlfriends said, this is the best doctor, you should go to this doctor. And this doctor scared her into taking a synthetic hormone, because my mom had gone through menopause successfully without one hot flash, due to acupuncture and herbal medicine and traditional Chinese medicine. And this MD said, well, now that you're postmenopausal, you have to take this hormone, or else your bones are going to be brittle, and you're going to your hip's going to break, and you're going to die. And so my mom came home crying and got on this hormone. And then, as my mom was dying in the hospital, um, the hormone was taken off of the market for killing too many women.
Oh,
And
wow.
the prescribing doctor herself got cancer as well, but she survived and went on to become a very famous, a very famous doctor TV doctor in Canada, Dr. Marla Shapiro, and ended up writing a book on how she survived cancer. And yet she had prescribed this drug and given many of her patients cancer as a result. But I mean, Dr. Marla Shapiro did not know that this drug was going to do that, because she trusted that, like we all trust the FDA has somehow put parameters in place to make drugs healthy. And yet 1/3 of the drugs that is released in the market are taken off the market afterwards for having killed too many people. And yet we continue to allow this to happen. Is ridiculous. How many mums have been taken away from us because what we think is safe is not safe and is causing disease. But don't get me started.
Yeah. Oh, Ashley, I can so relate to your story, because not only that, it happened very fast for my mom as well, but also she was healthy, and that's the shocking news. And how does healthy person who never smokes, never drinks, is suddenly gone within 6 months? How does that happen? And I also remember when you mentioned that you went to with your dad to health food shop to get every book and juicer. I actually heard of apricot kernels, that they contain B17, and they were not available anywhere. But somehow I got them. I got 30 kilos of apricot kernels from Mexico, and I paid fortune for them. And this huge box of apricot kernels arrived at our door. And my mom looked at me and she says, well, what is this? What do you want me to do with it? And I said, eat it, just eat it. And they were so bitter. My mom didn't want it to eat. And I remember after she passed away, we were looking at this box and we didn't know what to do with it. So that's how uneducated we were at that time. I also want to say that I really want to make a point here that the way we got the news from the doctor, because it was really inappropriate the way it happened. So I want to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, I was with my mom and my little Emma, who was just a newborn 1 week old baby. We went to the oncologist office when she delivered the news to us. And the way she did it was that she basically was looking at the computer, not even at us. And she just said, "You have incurable lung cancer. There's no surgery or treatment which can help you. You have 6 months to live." And basically, that's it. And it was said in the most cold hearted, non sympathetic way, just like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember sitting there with this cold and hot waves of terror going through me. My legs went completely jelly. I lost my voice. And the only thing on my mind was to hold the baby. I didn't want her to drop her. And that was the only thing I was focusing on. I didn't look at my mom. I didn't know what to say or do. And I really wanted to ask some questions, but I couldn't say anything. And I was just completely speechless and frozen. And what do you say after hearing such a devastating news anyway? So I don't know how long we were both sitting there in this state of complete shock. But after a while, when I got my voice back, I finally asked, I said, "So are you saying that there is no alternatives? And is there nothing else we can do?" And the oncologist just turned around and she says, "No, nothing you can do." And when she said that, this time she looked my mom deep in her eyes and she says, "There's nothing you can do." And because my mom was a nurse, all her life she was a nurse, she loved doctors, she trusted medical system, and she really believed her. So that 6 months was like a little star in the calendar where she just made a note. And she died exactly 6 months after because she was told that. And I studied Bernie Siegel, and you also had an interview with him on the show. I absolutely love his work. And I remember him saying that the doctors need to learn how to speak to the patients because the words can be like swords. They can completely crush you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened with both of us. I had many nightmares afterwards. Even years later, after my mom passed away, I remember those words. And I have many patients I came across who were given similar diagnoses. Some of them were like my mom, where they accepted, and others, they just said, "Well, watch me." And they've done everything possible. And they said, "I will prove you wrong and I show you, I will beat this." So that actually worked opposite way, which was great. But personally, I believe that nobody, absolutely nobody, has a right to tell us how long we have to live. And it's such a wrong thing, in my opinion, to do. Yes, maybe for some people it makes them more determined, but for others, like my mom, it just completely closed her down to any options. She didn't even want to connect with her granddaughters or with me. You could just see how the life was just taken out of her just hearing that news. But what the interesting thing is, Ashley, that even my mom was given this life sentence, she was still suggested to go ahead with chemotherapy radiation.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
There's
So,
nothing you can do. You're dying in 6 months.
yeah,
Get over here. We're pumping you full of chemotherapy because I
yeah,
make money every time I
yeah,
prescribe chemotherapy.
yeah.
Get over here. I've got a
Absolutely.
house payment. I got to pay for my Mercedes. Get over here. I'm pumping you full of
Yeah,
chemotherapy. You're going to be dead anyway, but you might as well
yeah,
spend the next 6 months being sick.
yeah, yeah. And that's actually, I couldn't believe it because my mom, she looked actually quite good when at the time when she was diagnosed. She had a cough. And it was obvious that her lungs were not performing 100%. But after she started this chemotherapy, she lost her hair, she lost her spark, she looked gray, her beautiful sense of humor was gone. She just, it's just when I was watching her going through chemotherapy, I couldn't believe what was happening, not just with her, but with everybody else around. People were just sitting there with the, with the chemicals injected to the veins, and they had this blank expression on their faces. And I was looking around, and then there was someone nurse walking around with the biscuits and soft drinks, passing them around. And I just looked at this and I thought, what's going on here? What's happening here? So it was a terrible experience. And yes, and then 6 months later, of course, she died. So yes, I've learned a lot at that time. I have to say that this particular experience changed me to the core. And I've decided to learn as much as possible about the alternative ways helping people with cancer, as it was obvious to me that what was happening at the hospitals was only making people sick, and it was contributing to the already existing disease. And I've spent every minute of my time learning, understanding cancer, and all the available alternative treatments. And I remember calling different clinics around the world, trying to figure out what are they doing. I've heard of Gerson, and I'm like, what is this Gerson therapy? So I started extensively studying the Gerson therapy and Tullio Simoncini and so many, Leonard Caldwell, and whoever I could come across, whoever had anything to say in regards to cancer. I would just study day and night, trying to understand what were they doing. This became my obsession, and I believe also my therapy, trying to help other people because I couldn't help my mom.
Mm-hmm. I hear you.
Yes, I think that's, I can see you doing similar thing, that you're spreading this wonderful message, interviewing all the experts, and we have to educate ourselves. And that's how we heal, and that's how we understand this whole subject. Not just go there and blindly trust the doctors, but just really understand what's going on, what's happening here. So I wanted to put my knowledge, all I've learned, into practice, and I found a clinic here where I live, on the Sunshine Coast. This clinic specializes in alternative treatments treating cancer. So I was very happy to become part of that team. And I've learned so much there. Every day I was seeing patients who were given sentenced the same way as my mom had. So what I've learned, the most valuable lesson was that listening and understanding and acknowledging someone's story was the way that the people connected with me, and they felt that they started to really open up, and they felt like they really matter. Because in the medical system, it's very fast system. It's very much appointment after appointment, and it's not connecting with the doctors. So what I understood is that this acknowledgement of someone's situation, someone's story, was the most important thing. So I spent lots of time with my patients doing exactly that. And I believe that when people sense that you truly care and you're really ready to listen and fully engage, that something happens there. They like flowers, they opening up to possibilities. And my favorite saying is that your ability to heal comes from believing you will heal. So you have to really open up and believe in what you're doing. And that's why I love so much Dr. Bernie Siegel work. And because this is his approach, how he loves to truly connect with the patients and truly understanding the story. And Dr. Siegel was saying that our body's chemistry is altered by our feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the main reason I also believe that my mom got the cancer, because she was traumatized as a child. Her mother was an alcoholic, and she lived through very traumatic childhood, also in Poland. It was right after the war. And she was very anxious, and she had lots of fears, and those issues were never addressed. I knew my mom was always anxious, but she didn't know how to deal with that. So I believe that those emotional issues really contributed to my mom's getting a cancer. And at that clinic where I was working, majority of the patients were also dealing with lots of emotional issues. And at that time, I didn't have enough skills to help them. But we, just through conversation and through connecting and understanding, we created a very warm, healthy, positive environment for them. So they felt safe. And it was an amazing thing. People were really thriving, and they got the strength to live again. So with all the physical things we were doing, all the exercises, gentle exercises, and with all the juicing and all the dietary advice, creating that environment, that safe environment, was a huge part of the treatment. And on many, many occasions, I've seen my patients doing exceptionally well. They were improving, they were smiling, they were joking, they were doing really well, getting physically stronger. And then they would go to see the oncologist, because at the back of the mind, there was this fear. Oh, I have to check. I have to do some testing. Or they got maybe letter from the oncologist for the follow-up. And he would tell them that they're all wasting the time, and that we're just taking their money, and they shouldn't bother because they've got X amount of months to live. And the change in people after being told that was so huge, that from this vibrant and happy people, I could see someone who is just walking with the shoulders sort of down and unmotivated again. It was such an obvious pattern which was happening in our clinic, that we were on the first consultation, we were actually advising people not to go back to oncologist, because we realized that that's just is crushing people again. So that clinic was just absolutely wonderful, but unfortunately it was closed down because too many people were getting well. And we were not properly registered, and we were selling products like apricot kernels, for example, which were not approved by TGA, which is our therapeutic good acts here. And we couldn't continue. I personally got many threats from my professional association saying that they will take my license away if I continue treating people with cancer. And I had those letters saying that as naturopath, I'm not allowed to treat people with cancer. Well, for me, that only made me more determined and more focused on doing that. I didn't really worry about my license. They didn't take it away, but I was continuing doing that on my own. And now fast forward 10 years, I do have lots of patience, and I do continue my work. I love it. It's main focus in my practice. And I always also love what Dr. Mark Hyman says, that as naturopaths, we need to be like organic soil farmers, creating this healthy soil without harming the nature. So that's basically what I try to do. It's quite simple what I do, really, what I advise people to do. But I love simplicity. I believe that simplicity is the way to go. And just getting back to basic laws and basic nature that's exactly what we need to do. Because right now we are so disconnected from nature. We went too far. So in order to change that, we need to get back, and we need to connect with nature, and we need to go silent and just listen to our intuition and listen to what our body signs are telling us. Because hearing from my cancer patients, they all tell me that when they have chemotherapy, when they go to the hospital, they don't feel good about it. Deep down, they know that it's not the good thing to do. But they thinking, well, the oncologist told me so. I don't know what else to do. So I'm going ahead with the process. But deep down, they know that it's not the right thing to do.
Sitting in on an oncology appointment is surreal. I interviewed a friend of mine who was battling cancer, and is now cancer free. I'm glad to say. But I interviewed Barnetti because she asked me to be one of her advocates and come to all of her appointments with her when she was first navigating her care and building her team. And it was a godsend to have the documentary series, The Truth About Cancer, come out right as she was diagnosed. So I bought the DVD set, which I recommend. You know, it's great to have the digital copy, but to just be able to travel anywhere, like, you know, oh, your friend is just diagnosed, grab the DVD set, drive over to their house, sit with them on the couch, like call in sick to work and binge watch. We binge watched. We spent several days. I think what we did was I just said, you know, stay over at our house for a few days, and her, the father of her child took care of the child, and just stay with us for a few days. Let's get your head wrapped around. Let's get your head in the game. You know what I mean? Like she knew that she didn't want to go down the same route as her father and her sister. It was actually quite shocking for her. She had come back from holding her sister's hand in Florida while her sister passed away of cancer. She flew back, and that week was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so, and she had lost her father as well. So for her, it was a double whammy. She was still reeling from the loss of her sister, and then to have cancer be a diagnosis was equally reeling. So she already knew she wanted to pause and get her head in the game. And so we got the DVD series, the DVD set of the documentary series. We sat down, we binge watched it for like 2 or 3 days. I can't remember. It was kind of a blur, but it was so empowering in that the lessons we received was slow down, find multiple oncologists, multiple surgeons, multiple naturopaths, you know, interview them. You're getting them to be on your team, not the other way around. You're hiring them. This doctor works for you. And the hubris was amazing. If you want to feel like you're living in a science fiction, like if you want to feel like you are living in George Orwell's, you know, some weird rendition of the universe, go to an oncologist's appointment with your friend who has recently been diagnosed with cancer, because she went to 2 oncologists, 2 surgeons, and we interviewed them, asked them questions, and we weren't, you know, confrontational, but we were going to ask them straightforward questions. One oncologist told her, you know, straight out that she was stupid for even thinking about alternative methods. And he said, if you were my wife, I would tell you, 'cause this is how he sneakily got around just saying, you're stupid. He said, if you were my wife, I'd tell you you're crazy. This is stupid. Like, for her to even consider anything other than what he was selling, his chemotherapy that he was going to give her. And she was asking, well, what about alternatives? And he goes, no, with your type of cancer. And they speak so like they're the god of this. They know what they're talking about. He put his foot down. He said with 100% certainty, so certain that I left the appointment questioning my viewpoint on chemotherapy. He was so certain that I was like, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe chemotherapy is good. I don't know. I mean, he was so certain. I mean, that's his job. He's a salesman. He was like, no, your type of cancer, the best. This is the route you're gonna do surgery, and then you're gonna do. He laid it all out, and then she went to a different oncologist, and that oncologist, we asked her to please. So for the type of chemotherapy they wanted to give her, we said, could you please give us the rate? What is the percentage that have any kind of negative effect, like as in will get another kind of cancer as a result of this chemotherapy?
Yes.
And she was like, oh, it's very, oh no, it's so negligible. It's a 0.5% of people develop leukemia. And my husband stood up and he nearly screamed. I mean, he's a very composed person, a very calm person. He said, that is 1 in 200 people. That's not low. Considering how many people they're pumping chemotherapy in, they're giving 1 in 200 people leukemia. That's known. That is a known statistic. And and again, my husband wasn't really he was more shocked than anything. And the oncologist said, you're making me feel like a used car salesman. And because she was trying to convince us this was the way to go, and we were trying to understand the full picture. We were being chastised for asking questions, for not immediately. They wanted to book her right away. Surgery next week. Let's go surgery. And she's like, I don't think this is the right route for me. I'm going to keep looking. And she took her time and she interviewed many different professionals. And like I said, as a result, today she's cancer free. Because she took the time to build her team of professionals and to research and to build up her body and never tear it down. And I know everyone's journey is different, but in that experience, it was like the Twilight Zone that all the doctors, in fact, spoke as though she would die unless they followed their instructions precisely. If she didn't get chemotherapy immediately, if she didn't get her surgery immediately, she was going to die. And they were all trying to tell her that. And luckily, she is that personality that will do something in spite of, and that those are the people that live. Because they will not accept that subconscious subliminal message that oh, you need our chemotherapy or else, right? And so I love that you said that it's really the people who believe they will heal that have the best ability to heal. Because if you don't believe you could run a marathon, you're not even going to go out the front door with your sneakers on. Like, if you don't believe you can learn a different language, you're not even going to try, right? You're not going to try or do anything if you don't believe you can. And so when it comes to healing, I love that your principle is that you take time to sit down and speak with your patients and get to know them so that you can fully understand where's their head. Are they in the game? Is their belief system in alignment with healing, not only with survival, but with thriving? And it's amazing that, the average doctor doesn't do that, doesn't take the time. I mean, they can't, some doctors will argue, I can't, that's not how we get paid. The insurance doesn't pay us that way. Well, the system needs to change, and who's going to change it, right? Or we are either going to be run by the system, or we need to change the system, because this system's not working. People are dying in mass. 1 in 2 women are being diagnosed with cancer. 1 in 3 men within our lifetime. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. We have a stronger chance of getting cancer than we do of getting in a car accident. This is maddening.
Absolutely. Ashley, I'm standing here and I'm nodding my head so hard. If you could see me, I'm just like every sentence, every word what you say. I'm nodding my head saying, yes, yes, yes. Everything you said is 100%. That it's it, it's that belief for people. That's the people who survive. I love what you said. Those are the ones who survive. And also, I love what you've done with your friend, that you took the Truth About Cancer CDs and you were just educating yourself and your friend. You were just getting the best information you can, because I believe that this series is just top. We've got the best information we've got here.
Now, you've been
And
researching
everyone,
this for 17 years, right? You've been researching
oh,
all the ways we can heal from cancer, all the
oh,
ways we can support the body,
absolutely,
and all the ways we can prevent
absolutely.
cancer. So you are
Mhm.
really an incredible expert, being that you've dedicated the last 17 years of your life to studying this specifically. And now you see that the Truth About Cancer documentary series, is it an accumulation? Is it a really good representation of everything that you've learned?
It's 100%. So when I was watching The Truth About Cancer, and I didn't sleep, I was just watching one after the other, and it's long, hey.
Yeah.
It's a long series. And I loved it so much because it's the essence of what I know 100% and what I already practice. So I'm nodding my head now, but when I was watching The Truth About Cancer, I was in tears. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, yes, everybody put it on. I wanted to stand on the roof of my house and just shout, everyone, come on, let's do this. Let's just change the way things are, because really, the way the medical system works right now is all wrong, and people are dying, and we've got answers. We know that there are alternative treatments and they work. The only reason people question and they're not sure is because they're not educated.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't seen those methods in practice the way I've seen it.
Share some
So
stories. You've seen this in practice. Let us let us pull back the curtain and see it through your eyes. Can you share some stories of success?
absolutely. Oh, I've got so many. Where do I start? The one I really would like to share is this not client, this patient of mine I had was a lady who initially had breast cancer. And when she contacted me, she went through chemotherapy and radiation and all the medical procedures. So she was sick and she was unwell and she was bitter and angry and she was given life sentence. And she just contacted me. Someone suggested, oh, she may help you. So just go and see her. Uh, but when I started talking to her, what happened was that she basically was really angry and really frustrated. Um, so she was taking probably 20 different supplements already. Someone else prescribed those supplements. She's seen Chinese medicine practitioners. She had acupuncture. She was having some other therapies. So she was already seeing other naturopaths, but yet she wasn't doing that well. It's as if something was holding her back. So as I said, I like to spending more time with people and understanding what is this. I'm playing like a detective there, trying to find out what is it that is holding you back. You've got all those different tools in your here, and what is it that is holding you back. So I started talking to her, and I said, so what do you love to do? What is your favorite thing to do? And she says, sorry, I don't understand your question. What do you mean? Well, I've got this cancer, and what do you mean? What is my favorite thing to do? And I said, yes, exactly that. What is your passion? She says, I don't know. I thought, okay, what as a child, what did you used to do? What was what was the something, that one thing you loved to do? And it took her a good few minutes to think about it. And she says, I loved photography. I was taking photos, and when I was a teenager, this was my obsession. I used to take photos of different plants and insects, and that was my passion. Okay, so when did you stop doing that? She says, oh, and then I had children and I had husband, and then we didn't have money, and life happens. So I didn't continue with that. That wasn't important anymore. I said, okay, so where is your camera right now? Oh, I don't even know. Okay. And then she was more and more frustrated with me because she didn't see relevance of what I was saying to her situation. But I was continuing. I knew where I was going with that. So I was basically trying to shift that that energy, trying to inspire her. And that was a long, long conversation. Probably took us an hour to make her excited again, to talk about her photography. And I told her that how much I love photography too. So I said what I'm doing, and I shared my story about my passion. And I said, look, if I was in the naturopath, I would get into photography. And she says, oh, really? Okay, I love that so much too. And after this conversation, I asked her to do one thing. I asked her to basically get the old photos and look through them, and to, even with the phone, just start taking few photos here and there. And that's how we ended this first appointment. She rings me week later. We didn't have appointment. She just rings me out of blue, and she's a changed person. And she says, Gosia, I know where my camera is. I want to take the photos again. I can't wait to do this. I looked through my old photos. I understand what you were talking about. But her voice was totally different to, when we first started. She was alive again. So I said, okay, wonderful. I want to see those photos. I'm really genuinely interested in photography, so I want to see your photos. So we had a deal where she went to take some photos, and she basically, got excited again. And then we had appointment 2 weeks after. And she came back, and she was a different person. She says, all right, so what do you want me to do now? So what I'm trying to say here is that sometimes we've got even all the supplements or dietary advice or therapies like acupuncture, and we can have kinesiologists, or we can have all those different treatments. But we need to be excited again. And that's exactly what happened with this lady. And that was probably 8 years ago, where she was given only 6 months, 8 months, I think, to live. She's still alive, and she's doing well. We were working together, and I didn't really change her treatment that much. What changed was her attitude towards her alternative treatment. And because it was such a powerful experience, I focused more on basically discovering that passion in people. And I also found Dr. Leonard Caldwell is his name, and he does exactly that. The first thing he does with his patients, and he's having excellent rate of success treating cancer, is that the first thing, before he asks people what are they eating, what they're doing, the first thing he's doing, he's saying, what is your passion? What do you love to do? What excites you? So I'm sharing this story because I really truly believe that it's a huge component in not just cancer treatment, but any healing process. We need to be able to shift the energy for healing.
I so agree with you. That was a wonderful story. Thank you for sharing that. Now it sounds a lot like what's coming to mind is my background in NLP and understanding like Dr. Milton Erickson and how he would work with his patients. He had polio and twice actually, and so he was in a wheelchair, and he needed to live in a different environment. So they moved down to Arizona, and he turned his garage into his practice. And he was an MD, which I don't know if you know anything about Dr. Milton Erickson, but he's like the father of modern hypnotherapy. And so instead of it being the old school hypnotherapy was very authoritative, where it would be direct, sit down, close your eyes, go to sleep. That was very direct. And Dr. Milton Erickson used language patterns. So he'd just be sitting there talking with his patient. And in doing so, his goal was to, through metaphor and through homework, do things that would have them have a breakthrough inside. And when you were sharing your story, it reminded me of a very powerful story where a man came to Dr. Erickson and said, I can't stop drinking. If I am all consumed by alcohol, I'm losing my family. I'm losing my children. I've lost my job. My life's going to be over. I'm coming to you as a hypnotherapist to help me quit drinking. And Milton Erickson had this rule that he would figure out what kind of homework he could give someone, and they had to do it before ever coming to see him. And he'd end up losing half his patients that way because the homework was so powerful, they never had to see him. So he said to the man, you can, okay, but first you have to go to such and such a park, because this is Arizona, so it's the desert. And he said, go over to this park, and I want you to find a cactus, and I want you to sit there and look at that cactus until you understand how it can go an entire month without drinking. And he never heard from him again. Years went by, and Milton Erickson never heard from him again. Like most half the patients that contacted him, he didn't hear from him. So he figured either they leave thinking he's a quack and they don't do the homework, or they do the homework and they had the breakthrough. Well, one day a woman knocks on his door and comes in and sits down, and he says, okay, what are you here to see me for? And she says, no, I just have to see you. He's like, okay, you can see me. What do you want to see me for? She said, no, I have to see you. I have to see the man that told my dad to go stare at a cactus. He came home, never touched alcohol again, packed up my mom and all my siblings, moved to California, and completely changed our life.
Wow.
And so the lesson is that in sometimes in giving someone this kind of homework in life, out there in real life, you're allowing them to have that breakthrough that helps them, trickles down into all areas of their life. So what you were doing, obviously you saw that she's already eating well, she's already doing all these natural therapies, but there was this big hole missing in her plan. And that is that the emotional, mental, spiritual aspect of her healing was completely lacking. It was like she was a shell of a human being. And so we have to have passion. And that's what holistic medicine is. And again, why I love naturopaths, why I love what you do, because you take the time, and naturopaths will take the time to understand not only your physical health and your lab work, but also, how are you spiritually? How are you energetically? How are you emotionally? How are you mentally? Understanding that all those are just as important as the supplements. Absolutely. If not more important. So I just love that question. What is your passion? Do you have any other stories of success that you'd like to share with us that come to mind that'll help us to further understand the kind of impact that you have as a doctor in helping your patients to heal their own bodies?
Absolutely. I've got many stories. Okay, so there was another lady who was, I remember this story really well because she also had lung cancer like my mom, and she was exactly her age. So for me, that straight away, I had that connection thinking, okay, this time I am going to give my not just 100%, but more than that. And I'm going to absolutely do my everything to help this lady. I've got this commitment with every patient, but because this lady reminded me my mom, I was emotionally attached to her. And she never heard of any alternative treatments before. So she was very ignorant to everything I was saying. And when I told her about the chemotherapy, how toxic it was and how really ineffective it is, she was shocked. She was ready to stand up and just leave the room. She thought I was crazy. But at the same time, the reality was that she had the chemotherapy and the cancer was spreading and she was getting more and more sick. So she didn't really have other option as to try alternative medicine. And so, anyway, she was quite challenging to work with because her belief was so strongly based in medical system that everything I said, she would turn around and she would say, "But the doctor said this, and if all of these wonderful alternative treatments are effective, why aren't the doctors telling me that?" So that was her main um, point, that she just couldn't understand why the doctors are not recommending the diet. And she says, "My doctor told me that the diet has nothing to do with me getting the cancer." So we had lots of work to do. And at that time, we didn't have the truth about cancer documentaries, or there also wasn't anything like that available online. But I actually, what I've done was that I brought situation of my mom, example of my mom's story to the table. And I said to her, I said, "Look, you know, my mom was very devoted nurse and she trusted medical system exactly like you do. And she followed the treatment as the doctors told her. And today, you know, she's not with us anymore and she cannot enjoy her granddaughters and she's not with us." And as I was saying this, I basically lost it and I started crying in front of her, which never happened with anybody else. But I said to her, I said, "Look, you know, the chemotherapy is not working for you. And I've got so much to offer you. There is so many wonderful, safe healing plants and other methods which at least you could try." And because I was so emotional and I was speaking my truth, that changed her. And she basically held my hand and she says, "All right, I will do that." And I was quite surprised. I didn't think that, you know, revealing my story would do that, to be honest, but it did. And she suddenly, out of blue, she says, "Okay, I'm ready. I want to do this and let's go. Let's do whatever you're going to recommend. I'm actually going to do it. And I don't want to do chemotherapy anymore." So we started and we've done all the coffee enemas, and she was chewing on apricot kernels and bitter herbs, and we've done the detox, and there was so much to do. And also with her emotions, she had very, very traumatic childhood, like my mom, and she was abused, sexually abused. So there was lots of work to do there. I recommended her to see hypnotherapy, and we used EFT, which is the emotional freedom technique, the tapping. I told her how to do that, and within a month, she was so much healthier and so much more optimistic that she was just completely changed person. And she joined a yoga class and she was doing meditation and she was walking every day. And that was easily 10 years ago. She's still alive. I see her grandchildren coming to see me. Her whole family is coming to see me. And they have to travel more than 2 hours from where they are to see me. But they all coming and they're so grateful. We basically like friends. We've got this beautiful connection now because she says you saved my life, but I believe that she became at some point basically open to it, and that saved her life. That she decided, she made a decision that she's gonna do it, and that's what it doesn't always happen with my patients. Sometimes I get people who never heard of alternative medicine, and no matter what I say, they still think that it's not gonna work, and they just don't trust me enough, and they don't want to continue. That's their choice. So there's not much I can do there. So occasionally that happens. But when people are open, like this particular lady, it's amazing transformation. The body has ability to heal, and that's what I love doing. That's my greatest passion, to help people when they open to it. So there you go. That's another story.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My heart, I just, in my chest, I feel so much warmth thinking about that woman, her entire family. And not only that, I lost my neighbor back in February, and at her memorial, it was standing room only, literally packed, people outside. And she's was a woman in her late 70s, and the she was a great grandmother, and the ripple effect when you think of losing one person. So you think of this one person, you this one patient, you help this one patient beat what could have been a terminal disease. And we think of it in terms of one person, but really it is an entire community that's affected by when one person's light is snuffed out. It is a whole community. It's there's countless people that are affected. And so this ripple effect that you helped this one woman, but in doing so, you enrich the lives of hundreds of people as she moves through her life, touching theirs. So
Absolutely.
this is the effect that I love that you have, and I want us to continue to have, is that we can touch each other's lives and know that anytime we help one person, if you stop to help one person, you're actually helping the hundreds of people that one person will go on to help. And so, the saying, like, pay it forward. You take the time to help someone in need, and you'll feel infinitely better. Like, if you stop and someone needs help, you just hand them $20, that kind of thing.
Yes.
You end up getting so much more than they ended up. Maybe they got a meal and some transportation, or maybe they that money helped them in some way, or whatever. Maybe they bought booze and cigarettes, who knows. The point is that you help that one person. You might have really helped them out in a jam, but you end up feeling so good the rest of the day. But know that whenever you stop to help someone in any manner, that you're actually helping all the people they go on to help, and we have that effect on each other. We're not islands, we're not individuals, it's this complex web, and each interaction we have with each person can go on to really make a difference. And so you're doing that, and I love and applaud what you're doing, the work you're doing. And you mentioned there's other methods. that for a lot of people, it's like, well, what other methods? There's other methods, and safe healing plants, you said. What other method? And I know I'm beginning to really understand, after interviewing so many experts in cancer, that it's that the cause of cancer, right, it is as important as the cure, right? Because, like, Dr. Tullio Simoncini, If the cause of cancer is fungus, then why are you throwing chemotherapy at the person? We need to be killing the fungus. If the cause of cancer was over toxicity, well, we need to handle that. If it was a hormone, whatever the cause is sort of what's going to help us determine this is what my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong. The cause is going to help you determine the treatment, and that's where natural holistic doctors look. Traditional oncologists, because they only have cut, burn, or poison, then they're not really looking to see where the cancer became from, because that might change their treatment plan to be outside of the tools they're allowed to use.
Absolutely. Look, Ashley, I love Charlotte Gerson. She obviously is one of our experts in cancer treatment, and I love what she said. And she says, to heal the body, we need to do two things. We need to detoxify, and we need to nourish. And I love that. It's so simple. I remember reading that line, and I just thought exactly that. Detoxify, get the toxins out of the body. If those toxins are physical toxins, heavy metals, pesticides, all those yeast overgrowth, bad bacteria, parasites, toxins from your body. Get them out of the body, because we've got too much. Our container in our body is not handling them anymore. It's too much. And then nourish, put the good nutrients in the body. So, and the detoxify is not only physical, detoxify the emotions as well. If someone is full of fear, if fear is a driving emotion, we need to deal with that. If they cannot forgive someone, that's another toxic emotion sitting deeply inside of them. That has to be cleared. So on many levels, physical and emotional, we have to detoxify and then put the good stuff in. And it's really that simple. I don't want to oversimplify things, but really, if we just do that. So there is lots of things, like especially in the Truth About Cancer, there's many hours of all the experts from around the world talking about all sorts of different methods of detoxifying and nourishing, and there are different therapies, and there are essential oils, there are herbs, there's so many different things. However, what I hear from my patients, and especially after they've seen me speaking on that Truth About Cancer documentary, people were calling me saying, look, I just watched the documentary. It's absolutely amazing. I've learned so much, but I still don't know what to start.
Yes, exactly.
Because it's overwhelming. It's like there's so many things. And they're saying, look, I've been given months to live. I don't feel well. I don't sleep well. I don't have energy. I spend so much money already. I've seen so many different practitioners. And yes, this is all good. I love it. But what would you say? What is the most important thing? So people were calling me from all over the world, from Europe, from States, from everywhere. They were saying, what do we do? And that's why I came up with this program. Program, the Cancer Recovery Plan, it's called, where I basically decided to summarize all I know into one simple guide. And it's simple. It really is simple, but that was my intention. I didn't want to complicate things, and I didn't want to rewrite the truth about cancer and say everything what was said in a documentary. My intention was to simplify things and to say, okay, there is a list of things on one page. What are the foods we shouldn't eat? And what are the things we shouldn't be doing? And on the other side, we've got things we should be doing. So
Oh,
you can think,
this is great. So
yeah,
I
so
love
it's
it. You've boiled
simple.
it down to what works, obviously, with your 17 years of research, and then working with your patients. You've boiled it down to the actionable steps we can take. Can you share some of those actionable steps? Even if we don't have cancer, we shouldn't. My understanding is, get the garbage out, bring the nutrition in.
Yep.
Wouldn't we all benefit from that?
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned that because we're concentrating on the cancer, we're talking about cancer, but really it's for anybody. It's to heal the body. And often when I see cancer patients, the partners, they want to do the same because they say, oh, I've got arthritis, I don't have energy, I've got digestive problems. Do you think that I could do the same thing? Absolutely, you should. Because it's for everyone. We all should get the toxins out and nutrients in. So that's the main basically idea. So you asked me to share some of the things. So look, in the most important thing, and everyone is talking about it, is to avoid sugar. We know that. We know that sugar depletes oxygen, makes us acidic, it robs us of nutrients and energy, it's spiking our insulin level, which then is driving the growth of cancer. So that's absolutely no, no, we know that. But it's processed sugar. And please understand that people are scared to eat fruit because they're thinking sugar. We're talking about processed sugar. Okay, so avoid processed sugar. The next thing is the fiber. So the fiber is essential in restoring the health of the digestive system, and it's helping the good bacteria to flourish. So we need to have enough good fiber to oxygenate our system. Another step is the water. And as you can see, those are very simple things. What I'm talking about is so simple. But water, I'm so surprised how many people still drink tap water or they don't drink it at all. Yesterday, I had a lady who just doesn't drink water at all. She has like 4 cups of coffee and some soft drinks and wine at nighttime. And she doesn't drink any water. And I was looking at her thinking, what's going on?
How is she even
So
alive?
how the body is so resilient?
Mm-hmm.
Because she had all those issues. She had aches and pains and no energy, and she was really overweight and water retention. That's what she had. So that's why she thought, if I have water retention, I can't drink water because I'm gonna retain more.
Well, that's what MDs will tell you. Oh, you have edema. You should, or you have, yeah, you have edema. You should not drink. You need to cut back on your water consumption and make sure you don't have any salt.
Oh, look, don't get me started on that. Uh, you definitely need water, but with the water, we need to drink right kind of water. So first of all, it has to be purified. We don't want chlorophyll,
Chlorine,
fluoride,
yeah,
and
fluoride, chlorine, you
all of
name
those
it.
chemicals. Yes, and I love alkaline water, and I love water which contains hydrogen. So I personally at home, I've got Kangen machine, which in my understanding is like a Rolls Royce of all the machines. But it is quite expensive. So for people, I recommend Alkaway filters. They're available on my website. But those filters, they filter beautifully and they also produce water containing hydrogen, which can clean the system. So what are we doing drinking good water? We flushing all the toxins, but also we clearing the free radicals from the body. I'm trying to summarize all those things. That's why it's hard for me to explain it all. I'm trying to just put this into simple, simple terms.
I need to stop you. I'm really, really curious about this hydrogen-rich water system. I'm looking on your
Yeah,
website.
yeah,
So what is it? What does it do to the body when you have? Is it so because there's what is it? Extra hydrogen molecules.
yes,
It binds to the free radical,
yes.
free
You got
radicals in the
it.
body. Okay,
Yes. So
very cool.
free radicals.
So does it
I
have an ORAC score?
Yes. So basically, what happens is that we've got the free radicals are the electrons which are they've got one electron missing. So imagine that there is just one hand instead of two hands. Okay, I'm doing all this demonstration here with my hands. So there's only one hand, right? We need two. What happens is that those molecules are not stable and they're causing damage. The free radicals are damaging. So I've heard this wonderful analogy where you can imagine the pairs, women with men dancing on a dancing floor, and there's lots of pairs, these couples, they dancing on a dancing floor. And suddenly there is a single guy coming and he splits the pair, and now he's taking the woman and he's dancing with this woman. So now we've got again this other man standing on the side and he goes to another pair. So those are like free radicals causing damage, splitting. Did I explain this well? I'm not sure.
I think so. I think so, because a free radical in the body on a molecular level, if you can, I mean, imagine how small a this loose molecule is, right? Is small enough that when it bounces around in the body is doing damage on a cellular level, and harming the DNA, the RNA, harming the stuff inside the cell, causing the body to react by creating inflammation. Inflammation is the response for the body to come in and clean up and heal.
Absolutely.
But if we continue, so inflammation is not bad. I know people go, inflammation is bad, but inflammation is the body's response. But if you have chronic inflammation, it's because your body has never been given the opportunity to complete its job, because you're constantly bombarding it with something that is hurting it. And so just to give an understanding, what causes free radicals? What should we avoid to prevent free radicals in the first place? Because I love that you've got this hydrogen rich water, which would help us to eliminate free radicals in a very healthy way.
Yes. So the free radicals are caused by chemicals. They are caused by stress. They are caused by electromagnetic radiation. So the things we know that are no good for us, the additives in the foods, the chemicals, the medication people are taking, the tap water, the heavy metals. And heavy metals, sometimes my clients are saying, I don't have any contact with heavy metals. Yes, you do. It's everywhere. Even in your drinking water, there are heavy metals. If you're drinking tap water, that is. So the chemicals are creating free radicals. And you see, most of our foods is processed. Even if we're eating fruits and vegetables from the supermarket, they contain pesticides, and the way they are grown in a soil which is missing the main basic nutrients. And then they pick the fruit at the time when it's not ripe yet. And then this whole process is basically producing foods for us, which is lacking the nutrients, but contains lots of chemicals. And that is creating free radicals for us. So we definitely have to eat organic foods. Mm-hmm. That is so important. And avoiding the chemicals in our daily routine, like the toothpaste and the shampoos and the soaps. And we have shower in the tap water, obviously, without filters. That would be another source of toxicity. Mm-hmm. I am really stressing importance of protection against the electromagnetic radiation.
I knew you were going to say that. That was like that was the next thing in my mind, was like EMF pollution.
Absolutely. EMF is huge. It's and because it's invisible to us, it's very easy to ignore. And I started working now with the chiropractors here, and they specialize in children health. And so I'm seeing lots of mums with babies and with children. What I've observed is that when moms want to talk to me and they want the kids to be quiet for some time, they give them mobile phone to play.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the babies are so susceptible to the radiation because the brain, it's not properly closed yet, it's not properly formed, and it's so damaging, especially to the babies. It really just I can't even look at that. And you see it at the shopping malls and different places. The kids are just sitting happily in a pram and they're playing on the mobile phones.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge issue because it really interferes with our own vibration. So if you can imagine the cells, they're talking to each other, and they have to communicate in order to heal, in order to detoxify, in order to work properly. They have to talk to each other. And when we are exposed to radiation, that they can't hear each other because the noise in the background. So imagine you were trying to talk to each other and suddenly someone was making such a noise that you couldn't hear. What would you do? You cannot have a conversation. And that noise would be constant. And sometimes we go to shopping malls or we go to those public places and the radiation is much stronger there. So there is lots of things we can do. And it's very simple. We don't even have to buy gadgets, expensive things. What we need to do is to do grounding. We need to take our shoes off and walk on the grass or sand, just connect with nature to balance the energy. We really must to do that. It's very, very important. Such a simple thing to do. And it's pleasant. It feels lovely. It doesn't cost anything. We just have to do it. Take the shoes off and walk on the grass. How simple is that?
Mm-hmm. It's
So
amazing that sometimes people can go years without ever touching nature, really being disconnected from the earth. And then when you
absolutely,
finally do, I remember I was working in an apartment complex, working from home with my husband and living several stories above ground, obviously nowhere near grounding. And I was just really busy. And I remember it was years that I'd ever even touched a plant. Like it just, I don't
yes.
know how I did it, how we go day to day. And then all of a sudden it's been years. We were bike riding and I decided to get off my bike and lie down on the grass by the trail. And I felt ecstatic.
Yes.
I would have paid for a drug to made me feel that good. I mean, I was lying on the ground. I kind of did a snow angel, and you like a jumping jack, but lying down.
Yeah.
And I was like rubbing my fingers to the grass. And I just looked up at the blue sky with the clouds and took deep breaths until I was practically dizzy. And I could swear that I could feel the earth moving, like feel the rotation of the earth. I felt so connected to it. I felt like I could just extend my aura like roots in the ground and feel the whole planet. And it was so good. And I just felt like I just got out of the desert and drank a glass of water for the first time in a month. It's just like my body
Yeah.
was soaking it in. And I'd never heard of grounding or earthing before. I'd never heard of that in that way, but it was amazing. And now to see that so many people really are going years without touching nature and getting grounded in nature, and to think that we are separate from nature, that we're not made of
Yes.
energy, that it has no effect on us, that the sun has no effect on us, that we're somehow not part of the ecosystem. We're somehow separate. We have an impact on it, but it doesn't have an impact on us. We
Yeah.
somehow have subscribed to this belief system, and it's so funny. So I love hearing people healing themselves and coming back to nature as part of their routine. Okay, so we've got the water, which helps the body to eliminate your hydrogen system, which I think is fascinating. Helps the body eliminate free radicals. One thing about free radicals, fried food is such a nasty
Oh,
contributor
yes.
a friend of mine who was a Navy SEAL. So, Navy SEALs are the top trained military personnel. I mean, really way up there. He was a Navy SEAL and he lives in Utah, and he's a big fan of another naturopath that I love, Dr. Joel Wallach, who says, that's one of the bad foods that he's on his bad food list is fried foods. And my friend who's a Navy SEAL went, well, you know what? I take all the supplements. I eat really healthy. He goes, I'm going to test this theory about, not being able to eat fried foods. I don't know what he was thinking. But for an entire month, all he did was eat one regular sized order of fries from McDonald's. That's it. He didn't do a supersized me. He didn't make every meal fries. He just added one regular sized fries. So he was adding fried food to his diet, and within a month, he lost his ability to see with night vision. He was driving home and he could not read the signs.
Oh.
And he, as a Navy SEAL, he had more than 20/20 vision. He had perfect night vision, and a retired Navy SEAL. And he realized that within weeks of only adding one regular fries, one size. It's a regular, not the large one, just a most people order the large or the extra large or whatever, the mega large, whatever the sizes are at McDonald's. But within weeks, he had lost his night vision. He could not see any of the signs. Luckily he knew where he was going, but he had completely lost his ability to drive at night. And it took him 3 years to recover his sight. using
3 years.
all the supplements he could, but the damage, because understanding the anatomy of the eye is very vascular, and so the free radicals cause damage to the all the blood vessels of his eyes and decreased his vision. Imagine all the people walking around with prescription glasses, that it actually can be reversed because it was damage to the eyes themselves from their diet and lifestyle, and that can be reversed. It takes years sometimes, like my friend, but that's his story that he shares to let people know the impact that fried food. Don't think you can have just, I'm just going to do one a day or whatever, because if it can do that, what else can it do to the body?
Absolutely. I'm always going to now remember this story. It's such a powerful reminder that sometimes people say, I just have one a day and then the rest I'm doing good thing. No, this really has a huge impact on us. And as you said, this man had perfect vision, and just the impact of fried foods had such a huge effect on his vision. So it's incredible. And look, what I basically do in a nutshell is to help people to oxygenate the cells. So that's like reversing what happened to this man, right? So it needs to be oxygenated. So if we don't know what to do, we need to think, how can I get oxygen to my cells? So drinking water, right kind of water, and there are certain supplements which helps us to oxygenate as well. I can talk about them if we've got time, but also things like living foods. So if you're thinking of all the fruits and vegetables and sprouts and seeds and nuts, they are living foods. Versus deep fried, versus dead foods, versus processed foods. So we need to be thinking living foods, living water, not distilled water, living water. We don't want anything dead in our body. So I'm also really big on dairy products. Like, I really don't like people using dairy products. And that's because the way the cows are, actually the way the milk is produced now is very different to what it was when I was growing up. My neighbor had a cow, and when I was a little girl, I was walking with the little container and watching her milking the cow. That's not a problem. But now it's completely different. The cows are not eating grass anymore, and the milk is pasteurized and homogenized, and it contributes to acidity and mucus, and it's a breeding ground for parasites and all the bad organisms. and it's very difficult to digest. So that contributes to our toxicity, and it's stealing oxygen from us. So, yeah, when we're talking about specifically cancer, Otto Warburg, they said that the root of the cancer is oxygen deficiency, and this creates the acidic state. So the cancer cells are anaerobic, meaning that they do not breathe oxygen. So they cannot survive if we suddenly flood them with the high levels of oxygen. And he was actually testing, he done some tests, and he discovered that the cancer is characterized by two basic conditions, which is acidosis and hypoxia, which is lack of oxygen. So we have to basically make the body more alkaline by eating living foods, green, think going outside in the fresh air and breathe deeply. Most people breathe shallow. Stand on the grass, breathe, move. Those are such basic things, but they make huge difference.
Now, you're talking about living foods. Do you have a one specific diet that you want people, especially those who are looking to detoxify or cure their own cancer? Are you more in alignment with raw vegan, or with the juicing, or with keto? Or do you look to see what's best for that one person? Is there one diet, or are there many diets?
No, there is no, in my opinion, there is no one diet. Everybody is different, and it depends where the person is living. Like if they're living, let's say in Poland, how I grew up, and it's winter time, they're not going to have raw foods. So if the person is quite unwell and it's losing weight and it's fragile, that person needs broth and warm soups and warming foods. So I don't absolutely believe that there is one diet for everyone. I don't believe in raw, paleo, or any specific diet and just go that way. For some people, ketogenic diet is amazing. For other people, they can't handle, even mentally, they cannot handle that. Like some people say raw, I can't, they just, you look at the face and they just go, ugh, I don't want to do that. I hate that. It's rabbit food. So it needs to be, when I'm dealing with my patients, what I'm doing is that I'm in the process of finding out the history and where they are on a journey and how they're feeling and all of those things. Then I give them guidelines on what to eat. There are obviously basic rules, meaning that I don't want them to have processed foods and the things I mentioned before. And the diet is mainly plant food. So I like lots of plants because they contain lots of nutrients and fiber. And if they're organic, they are full of wonderful minerals and vitamins. So my understanding is that the best foods we can eat needs to consist of lots of plants grown in a fertile soil, and avoid all those other things which are processed, all those other foods which are processed. So to answer your question, no, there is no one specific diet.
But I like that you take into account their geography and the season. That's very Ayurvedic. That's looking at the person and what they need. Do they need the warm foods? Do they need the raw foods? What does their body need to nourish the body at that time? Because you're right. I mean, our body needs something in winter. And it needs something different in summer. So to eat the exact same way all the time is not very healing, because there's different demands on the body and different energy, as we go through the seasons. So
absolutely.
Yeah, and to touch on the supplements, I mean, I feel that we could spend many episodes together, and you're welcome to come back onto the show as you have so many things to share. But to touch on the supplements, so in working with those patients that come to you for detox or weight loss or especially cancer, what kind of supplements do you recommend?
I've got my favorite supplements are on the website. I put them together for my program. However, there is one particular supplement which I have been using for the last 6 years, and it's my absolute favorite. I take it, my children are taking it, and it's a glutathione booster. It's called Celgivity. And look, I've got access to so many supplements, and I go to seminars, and there's always something new and something amazing. And I keep getting back to my Celgivity because the glutathione is very, very powerful detoxifier. And it's not easy to get glutathione into the system. So you can get glutathione, you can just get pure glutathione, and it's not going to do much for you. The difference with this particular supplement is that it's actually boosting our own levels of glutathione, which we naturally should have in the body. So we are born with the glutathione, which is protecting us. It's detoxifying us. It's a molecule which is cleansing our cells. But because we are so bombarded with the chemicals, our levels of glutathione are depleted. So with this supplement, what's happening is that we are boosting our own levels to produce our own. So we're not actually, there is no glutathione in a supplement, if you know what I mean. We're just having precursors to help the body to boost our own production. And that's why I love it so much, because we're working with the body. We're working with already what should be there, it's just low, to increase the amount. So then our detoxing mechanism is actually boosted. It works better. And it's especially useful for heavy metals toxicity. And I find I do lots of testing for my patients for heavy metals. And it's amazing how many people have mercury and aluminum and cadmium and different heavy metals toxicity. It's really scary. Even young children have high levels of metals. And those metals are toxic, and they create inflammation, chronic inflammation in the body. That also can come from vaccination. That's why the children. So it affects the brain, it affects the behavior, all the hyperactive behavior. So this particular supplement is amazing what it can do. And because I've been using this for such a long time, it really, I know that it works beautifully. Not far from where I live, there are the mines, and men are going there to work at the mines. And they are very exposed to toxins, especially lead and other heavy metals. So I had this client who came to see me, and he couldn't continue his work at the mines because his levels of lead were so high that they said, go home, get rid of it, and then when you clear of it, you can come back. And he didn't know what to do, so he started Googling and looking for someone, and he found me. And we didn't even have a proper consultation. I just gave him Celgivity, and I said, just take that, take high dose, and we'll see if that's going to help you. And because he had regular checkups, blood tests, checking his levels, within the month, his levels were normal. And then he told his other friends working there, and they all started coming to me to get this Celgivity from me. So this is just one example to show that it does work. And obviously, I've been using this for long enough to know that it's just very effective.
That is so cool. I wish,
Mm.
I mean, I imagine you must have contacted the mine, and wouldn't they want to like pay for it, to keep the workers at optimum health and eliminate the sick days? There's banks. I love this. I studied essential oils when I was about 15 years old, because I was my summer job was working in a spa as the receptionist, but I also helped people pick out the stuff they were buying, and near the front desk, and it was actually an all natural spa, like really ahead of its time. And so all the products were 100% natural, and it was natural mineral makeup, and even the um any kind of cosmetic, any kind of shampoo or face cream had to be all naturally derived. And so my boss gave me a book and a CD, and said, start learning about these, because they're near the cash register and people might ask you questions. Well, I just fell in love with essential oils. They made such a difference to me. And what I learned was that at banks in Japan would use lemon essential oil, which, I mean, you just think a place smells like it was cleaned, right? You don't think that there's an essential oil. You just think, oh, this place smells clean. But when they did, they noticed, they put it in the air, they diffused it in the ventilation system, and they noticed that and I can't, forgive me, I can't remember the exact statistic, but it was measurable enough that they continue to do it to this day, that their sick days went down, their productivity went up, and
Wow.
and enough so that they believe in it and they keep doing it. So you'd think that large corporations, which benefit from less sick days, would be more motivated to incorporate holistic medicine to help their employees, because it would save the company money to have healthier employees.
Well, you would think that, Ashley, but in reality, even in this example I was mentioning, that actually, that guy who tried that supplement, he contacted his boss and he said, look, there is so many men here who are having the same problem. There is a solution. He wasn't interested at all. He wasn't
Amazing.
interested. So that's why when you're talking about essential oils and what they've done in Japan, that makes such a sense to me because the solutions are there, they are available there. But people somehow are blind to it. They don't believe it. They don't think that it's going to make any difference. Even though they've got proof that it's working, they still don't believe it. So we need to keep doing what we're doing. You're doing wonderful work, interviewing people, and I've learned so much from your podcasts. And I'm spreading my message and teaching people every single day. And there is like this wonderful documentary we've got as well, The Truth About Cancer. I think everyone should have a copy and show it to others. So this information is available. We need to educate ourselves and we need to
Mm-hmm.
put all of this into practice because it's not hard. As you said, now I've got the image of you on that grass, enjoying yourself. And it's as simple as that. Kick your shoes off and walk on the grass, enjoy the beauty of nature, connect with nature, slow down. Because if we slow down and we connect with nature, we will find the answers. That's what makes us open to nature. But when we're
Mm.
running, when we're in a traffic, when we're in a hurry, eating takeaway foods, no, of course we're blind to what the nature has to offer. So we have to
Mm.
slow down.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to get the information, we need to listen to our intuition. If something doesn't feel right, then think about it twice. If they're pushing you into chemo and they say, okay, on Monday you're gonna start chemo, no, delay, and just sit with it. See how you
Mm-hmm.
feel about it. See what sit on a grass and just think about it on your own. Don't even listen to others. Just what is your body telling you? We need to connect again and just not just be pushed by others into all of those mechanical treatments which are just toxic. Even if someone they say, oh, now we've got it all, and the chemotherapy helps someone. Well, I see this all the time. And then a few years later, the cancer is everywhere because the immune system is so depressed that the cancer can spread even more. And I see this all the time when people were thinking that it's over, and they just went back to the old way of living because now they don't have to worry about it anymore. And it comes back even bigger and stronger. So my message to everyone is to just listen to your inner voice and connect with nature and slow down. Educate yourself.
What I do want to know for the listener is how can they reach you? Can people around the world work with you? Do they Skype with you? What does it look like? Your website again, cancerrecoveryplan.com.
Absolutely. I do talk to my patients on Skype, and they can connect with me on Skype. Also, the plan which I've got, Cancer Recovery Plan, is available online, so they can just get the plan online, and that's a good start for them.
Wonderful. Well, I mean, you're making it so easy for people all around the world who are freaking out because they just got the diagnosis, probably from a grouchy, doctor, and they don't know what to do. And then they go Google it and they're searching, and maybe a friend has listened to this podcast and says, hey, check out cancerrecoveryplan.com. Look up the plan. Here's what you're going to do. Stop eating these foods, start eating these foods, take these supplements, go walk around in the grass and breathe a lot. And then call up this naturopath in Australia and have a conversation with her and learn how to take the garbage out of your cells and bring the nutrition into your cells and help and support the body and healing itself, which seems like the most logical thing to do to support the body and healing. And so I'm just, again, so thrilled to have you on the show. Please come back on the show anytime you want to teach us something more. After so many years of experience helping people heal their own disease and heal their own cancer and truly get their life back and get their true health back, you have so much to teach us. Thank you so much, Dr. Gosia Kuszewski. It's been what pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much. Please come back and teach us more anytime. And I'm so thrilled that you are doing what you're doing and making it simple and effective to help the body reverse disease and heal. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ashley. It was a pleasure talking to you and lots of fun. I really enjoyed it, and I would love to come back on the show again. I really would love that.
Enjoy what you heard today on your episode of the Learn True Health podcast. Did something move you, inspire you? Did you get great information that's going to change your life? Awesome. That's exactly what I'm here to do, is to help you gain your health back. Please turn around and share this. If this is something that's helped you in any way, share this with those you love. Love the Learn True Health podcast and want to support us? Awesome. You can go to takeyoursupplements.com and you can support us that way. You'll get access to amazing supplements that are just really great quality for a great price. And there'll be someone on the other end of the line to help you pick out your supplements that are right for you. That's takeyoursupplements.com. Or join our membership, learntruehealth.com/join. That's another great way to support our podcast, support our movement, and you'll be supporting yourself. Gain more information, wonderful videos, wonderful trainings, and you'll also be able to share those with those you love as well. So go to learntruehealth.com/join. Want something fun for free? Go to learntruehealth.com, and right there on the front page, you'll see where you can get our free cookbook. I spent a lot of time making it, and it was so much fun. It's really delicious, healthy recipes. And you can also get our 7-day doctor course. Right there, it's 7 days of naturopathic videos sent right to your inbox, and you can learn from top naturopaths on how to gain health naturally. So that's takeyoursupplements.com for wonderful supplements. learntruehealth.com/join to join our awesome membership, which is only open for a limited time. You can get our free healthy cookbook, And you can also get for free 7 days of wonderful naturopathic videos sent to you. Just go to learntruehealth.com and you'll see it right there on the front page. Thank you so much for being a listener, and thank you for sharing and helping others. Let's spread this information and turn this ripple into a tidal wave.